It's a very interesting topic because it affects everyone in our lives, whether you like it or not. The risks that are associated with the decisions that we make from day to day lives to even career changes or life decisions affects the people around us, affects maybe our children, our grandchildren. The repercussions or the consequences that we make with the decisions that we have affect those that we don't even know exist. And more importantly, they affect us. For negative or for better or for worse, they affect us. You have to be willing to make the risk to build the life that you want to build. In a life, there's only ever going to be two or three opportunities that are going to shape who you are and the way you live your life. Many times, people become so encapsulated by the fear surrounded by these decisions that they don't even act. They let them walk away. They let whatever opportunities that remain walk away from them because they can't make the decision. Sometimes it's the suffering that they know is going to come with that. Maybe you want to build a business. Maybe you want to leave your job. Maybe you want to move across the country. That unknown certainty of suffering is there. Maybe it's the solitude that you know when you have to move across the country. Maybe it's the financial hardships that you're going to face when you want to build a company or you want to switch jobs and move careers. Oftentimes, people allow these challenges or these sufferings to affect them negatively. But I've found that some of the most successful people in my life and that I've come across on the internet allow these challenges to shape who they are in a very positive way. In their mind, they see these challenges as a privilege. It's a privilege to grow. It's a privilege to gain wisdom. It's a privilege to gain experience, whatever it may be. Maybe it's a new mentality, a new mindset, a new outlook on life. It could be anything, and oftentimes you don't know what it is until retrospect. But that's the beauty of the suffering, because only after do we see the fruits of our labor. Maybe you're suffering right now. Maybe you're alone. You have no friends, no family. You don't know what you want to do with your life. You're sitting on a computer screen or on your phone hoping to find the answers online with some dude in a mask. And I'm here to tell you that these opportunities are going to arise, and when they're there, you have to be willing to make the changes. Oftentimes, it's the suffering, but many times, sometimes it's the suffering that holds us back, but sometimes it's the areas in life that we aren't willing to let go. Maybe it's your family or friends worried about judging you, or the lack of security when it comes to money if you want to make a career change, or the solitude that you know you're going to face when you have to make the decisions. It could be anything. You're going to have to burn it to the ground. It really is like a wildfire. The wildfire fighters out west, they burn forest, which seems really ironic when you're fighting fires, but it's to contain the hell that is there, that they know is coming. And oftentimes, in order to prevent wildfires at all, they do controlled burns, which allows overgrown areas of certain forests to burn, to be destroyed. And in turn, a new forest grows, something much better, much more sustainable, much more healthier. And the same thing can be said for a person's life. Maybe you have friends who only like to party, who don't want to do anything with their life, who are throwing their life away because they have no opportunities ahead of them. But you see the opportunities ahead of you. You have to be willing to let them go. Maybe it's family who judges you for the decisions that you make. You can't really let them go, but you just gotta ignore them. Or it's the boss or the career that you know is holding you back from being the person or doing the things that you really want to become. Only when it's smart, and I'm not saying just go quit your job right now, but only when it's smart and only when you know that the time is right, you have to be willing to let it go. Destruction of certain parts of your life allows for growth. You can only juggle so many things in life, and you have to be willing to let things go. Another interesting thing that I'm really starting to understand is that some of the most successful people have an uncanny ability to embrace the suffering and the solitude, or whatever it may be, to become the person that they want to become. They set a goal and they do whatever it takes to achieve it. They recognize these challenges as a privilege. They recognize these sufferings as a privilege. They recognize this solitude, this pain, whatever it may be, they recognize it. They embrace it. They harness it into their goals. They use whatever means necessary to achieve their goals. Now, there's a flip side to this. You can't just be risking everything all willy-nilly. You have to be very risk averse and know what you're risking and when to risk it. But knowing when to do it and actually doing it is only half the battle, because that's when half the people quit. And oftentimes you're not even competing with anyone. You're competing with yourself. So just doing that alone is a big step. These opportunities only ever come up when you have a certain goal in mind that you're able to clearly visualize in your head. Maybe it's a career, maybe it's a situation, maybe it's a family situation, a relationship, maybe it's a certain monetary value number that you're going for. Whatever it may be, set the goal and do whatever it takes to achieve it. And when the opportunities arrive to get to that goal, do not be willing to let go and embrace the suffering that you know is to come in order to achieve that goal. That is truly what it means to be a successful person. And oftentimes you're going to be scared. You're not going to feel like you're winning when you know when you're actually winning. Now, some of the most successful people in my life that I've seen don't feel like they're winning 100% of the time. Oftentimes, 8 out of the 10 days, they feel like they're losing. They feel like they're getting their balls kicked in every single day. But their ability to show up day in and day out and do the same thing over and over and over and never stop is what A, separates them from the majority of the people who they're even competing with, and B, allows them to actually succeed in what they're doing. This ability to show up day in and day out, regardless of how you feel, whether it's at 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, whether it's after a breakup, after you got evicted, whatever the case may be, the ability to show up to your goals and work at them, that consistency is ultimately the only key into building the life that you want. One lesson that I learned very young into my life was that consistency compounds into great things. The ability to do the simplest things over and over, such as uploading videos online, maybe if you want to get good at soccer, maybe it's passing a ball against the wall, whatever the case may be, the consistency to do the simple things really, really well is what allows people to be great. Some of the greatest basketball players are able to do the consistent things well. Steph Curry can shoot a ball consistently well, is one of the greatest shooters of all time, and is able to consistently move that ball really well. The consistency over a certain period of time builds the person that you want to become and allows you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Now, when these opportunities arise, you have to be willing to bet on these skills that you've made. You have to be willing to bet on yourself. You always have to back it up. When these opportunities arise, you have to be willing to bet on yourself and actually back it up. Otherwise, you're going to look like an idiot. Maybe you're starting a company and a certain deal comes up and you had never done that area of study or that area of industry ever before. But you know if you let this opportunity pass up, you're never going to go where you actually want to go. Take the opportunity in front of you, but follow through with the things that you say that you're going to do. You're going to look like an idiot to the people around you if you say you're going to go make $1 million and you don't actually make $1 million and you're homeless. Now, that's a very, very crude example, but you get the point. There's a certain beauty in doing things after you say you actually do them. Oftentimes, the only motivation that I've ever had for doing something is solely because I said I was going to do it. I told myself that I was going to go to the gym every single day, no matter what. Sometimes that meant that would be going at 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, solely for the purpose, the fact that I said I was going to go. And this confidence in myself, knowing that I put the work in day and day out, whether no one was watching or whether everyone was watching, allowed me to perform when the opportunities arise in my life. My ability to do the simple things over and over and over, regardless of who was watching, and the confidence that I instilled with myself by being able to do these things is what has ultimately allowed me to succeed. Now, when one of these opportunities arise, it's going to be scary as shit. That's just the reality of it. Life is scary as shit. You don't know what you're doing half the time, and half the time when you're doing something, you don't know if it's going to end up well or not. And that's normal. Everyone experiences fear. Fear is a good thing. It allows us to balance what we're actually doing in our life so we don't get killed or hurt ourselves. But you can't allow it to control you. Oftentimes, some of the most unsuccessful, miserable people in my life allow fear to dictate the way they spend their money, spend their time, and what they do. Fear really is an interesting emotion because it separates some of the most successful people from some of the most unsuccessful people. Fear is oftentimes what holds back a lot of people in their lives, and they can't figure out a way to harness it. Being able to harness that fear, being able to recognize it for what it is, and recognizing that not only does it not control you, but the fact that you can control it is one of the most powerful mentalities that anyone can ever adopt. So when these opportunities arise, recognize that it's just a challenge and that these challenges are a privilege. The suffering that you're about to endure with these opportunities is a privilege, but because it allows you to become someone that you've always wanted to become. It allows you to gain experience, wisdom, maybe even money sometimes that you never thought would have been imaginable, but that comes with the suffering. Also, when the opportunities arise, certain parts of your life are going to have to go away. Killing off and burning things that you know are not good for you and then you know have nothing to do with where you want to go in your life is oftentimes one of the hardest decisions that someone can make. But burning it all to the ground and letting a new forest of growth grow from it is oftentimes half the battle. So don't let fear dictate the way you live your life. Risk for what can be, or you're always going to remain in what is.